Hello and welcome to Crypto Bible. My name's Oliver Tompkins, and in today's episode, it's another Oliver and Elliott's market update. Now, I've got him waiting in the wings to talk to us about what is going on at the moment in the market with Russia and Ukraine and all that, and why crypto is down. And we'll go through our normal 5 points of little things to chat about. So, before we get stuck into it, throw me a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss any of these cool episodes. Right, Elliott, I'm coming for you. Let me bring you in. Elliott,
Oliver.
Here he is. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm wicked. What is going on in the market, Elliott, at the moment? All I'm hearing is Russia and Ukraine, World War III invasion. Let's talk a little bit about it, and then I think we've got some TA that you can share with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from a high level perspective, looking at the macro circumstances, so when we're taking an overarching view of all the markets as such, you don't take an idiot to see what's going on in the world right now with regards to the talks of World War III, all these kind of unsettling pieces of news that do have an impact on the market as a whole. Now, as much as we don't want to think that crypto has an attachment to the stock market, it still does, right? And if the stock market comes down and if there's uncertainty across all markets, it's going to have an adverse effect on crypto, right?
Yeah.
So what we've found is that the crypto market has simply reacted to the macroeconomical news. And to be honest with you, that's been quite similar over the last couple of months. We've not seen much changes in terms of the crypto fundamentals. It's been driven quite a lot by the US equities pulling down over the last few months. So, yeah, from a macro perspective, uncertainty across all markets will shake the crypto market, but fundamentals haven't changed,
Okay, right. Should we bring up some technical analysis and we'll go through, maybe you have the chat with us on screen about what's on your screen?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll give it a little bit of an overview from a simple level anyway, I guess. So over the weeks, we can build upon it as the viewers learn a little bit more.
Cool, wicked. Right, okay, let's add to the stream. Right, there we go.
Cool. Okay, cool. Can you see my screen okay?
I can see your screen, okay.
Brill. Okay, so if anyone that's new to this probably looks like quite a lot of lines and stuff. But what I'm seeing at this moment in time, so if I drop out to the weekly time frame here, and over the kind of terms of people working with it, if I get rid of this, you can see that in front of me here, I've got Bitcoin against US dollars. So we've essentially got $38,000 represents one Bitcoin, right? Now, when I talk about trend structure, what I mean, and I've spoke about this before without having it actually in front of me, but what I mean by this is essentially we mean that the market is making higher highs and higher lows continuously. So higher low, higher high. Obviously, we've made a higher low from this previous low here, but it's actually a lower low from this previous here, which is what I'm going to be talking about as to what we can see with regards to the shorter term trend. Now, if I drop down to the monthly, in that respect, you can see that overall, we've made a higher high, higher low, higher high, potential higher low here, okay? So the main thing is that we don't make a new low here at 35K or lower than that, should we say?
Okay.
Which will then make us have a downtrending structure, which would make a new low, lower high, lower low on the monthly time frame, which would essentially mean that we'd be going into a bear market, right? So there is still hope that we can continue where we're going right now. But if I drop down to the weekly time frame, where every single one of these candles represents 1 week in that respect, what you can see is that current structure that we see is the market's made a lower low, lower high, lower low, potential lower high, could trajectory in for a lower low in this respect, right? Which would then eventually take us to here. Now, if I put my analysis back on here and I go down to the daily time frame, essentially what we've got, just to break down what's in front of us here, we can forget a lot of the lines that are a little bit lower because that's kind of just my own personal, potential projections if we reach and breach levels, should we say.
Sure.
You can see that on the daily time frame, I've got this channel in here, right? Now, what this means is that on the daily, we've been making continuous lower lows and lower highs, right? Now, what you can see is that previously we've broken out of that structure. We've made somewhat from this previous high here. We had to get past this region, which we haven't, which does make it a little bit uncertain in that respect. But we've broken out and we've made somewhat of a higher low here and also potentially a higher low here from these previous lows here. So the main thing that I want to see at this moment in time, as much as we've broken the 4-hourly structure as a whole that was keeping us trending upwards, I need to see Bitcoin start to regain back above this $41,000 region with its next move. You can see we found some intermediate demand in around this previous level here, which is why we've got this green zone.
Right.
But if we break past this $36,000 region here, there's the reason why I've got this called as the short zone is because we're very, very likely going to find momentum down to the likes of 30K, which is this previous region here we found demand. See?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That's that yellow here. So the main thing for me here is that there's two ways to play this market from a trading standpoint. Obviously, the overall macro circumstance that I covered at the start, where we're looking at, to go into an extended bear market, we have to make, we have to breach 30K and essentially be in a downward trending structure on the monthly time frame. But the main thing I can see right here is if we break this $36,000 region, the play is short down to 30K as a target in that respect. But also, if we break past the 41K region, then we're looking to break past this $44,000 region. But we'd look then, if we broke past that, we'd look at, well, what's the structure moving forward to create higher highs and higher lows, right?
Right, got you.
Now, key areas to be aware of. Now, this is something I'll cover in further detail as we continue kind of going through this. But if I put, for the viewers that don't understand what we've got in front of us here, we've got essentially a Fibonacci retracement, which is key areas that may contribute to a demand and supply zone within the market. Now, what we usually find with the market, these are drawn from the highs and lows. Now, currently we're in a downtrending movement on the 4-hourly, which means if I go on the 4-hour, you'll see that here you've got down higher highs and lower lows and lower highs in that respect. And if I go onto the daily here, now again, if you are understanding this, I'll cover a lot more in detail about this as we continue.
Yeah.
In more weeks, but you can see that we have clear confluence between this 61.8 and this 50% region here, which would be a retracement of 61% from the whole of this downward move. You see?
Right, sure.
From top to bottom, if we go up to here, this 61.8 region would be a 61 off, 50% retracement of this whole move. Now, the main thing is if we can get past this 50% region and go back up to 100% and retrace that whole move, that shows we're bullish. But if we get this region here, if I go into here, if we get this region here and we get rejected and we see the market bounce off that, then the target clearly will be the first move to, $34,000, and then the second move, which would be $30,000, which have clear alignments. Now, in terms of significance, the reason why these percentages have significance within this market is because purely and simply because of emotion and the way that the markets are driven by humans. These numbers, which are basically a kind of calculation that have been used as a Fibonacci sequence over time, because humans drive, along with algorithms, but because of humans driving the markets, the more people that are buying and selling at these regions within the trading time frames, it means there's a clear demand and supply in and around these regions. So
what is that line there, Elliot? Sorry to interrupt, mate. What is that line that you put in the middle? What dollars wise is that?
That is around about $41,200 just there, and that has confluence between this. When I say confluence, it lines up. There's previous levels where we found demand here before, and often what you find is if you break through a demand zone that we've previously been deemed cheap to buy because it's pushed the price up, we're likely going to go back there in the future to actually test that again as to see whether it's either it's going to be a supply zone, which means that it could be too cheap in that respect, too expensive in that respect. And if we rebound off this level here, that'll deem that the $41,000 is deemed as too expensive for the asset, which will project it lower.
Right, and then that'll be a bearish trend. So if it hits that, bounces off, bearish, and then the opposite, obviously bullish. No, that's interesting to see it visually like that.
Yeah. And continuing from that, so, as we progress, and I've gone through like a whole level of, basically breaking down from the top level what we see with regards to Bitcoin. And in future weeks, it'll take me a lot quicker to go through Bitcoin because I had to explain the whole structure as such. Sure. But what we're going to go through over the next few weeks, I would say, is understand how, when we understand Bitcoin, because that has a certain dominance over the rest of the market, how when Bitcoin makes certain moves and we get an idea of where potentially Bitcoin will go next, how that can then give us a more of a bias as to where we think that the market will go with regards to Ethereum, with regards to all the other altcoins in the market. But because we understand right now that Bitcoin's likely going to come back up and retest this $41,000 region, that gives me enough clarity to say that we're likely going to see the rest of the market and the altcoins and Ethereum start to come up a little bit as well in synchronization with that, at least in the short term. And then it'll be Judgment Day. And if Bitcoin gets rejected here, that's going to pull the rest of the market down with it.
When you say short term, what's that, weekly, monthly?
Yeah, I'd probably say, because every candle represents a day just here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles that have made up that full move. I'd probably say, it's going to be a week off before we get a movement to upwards to around about that 41k region.
Okay.
Probably get a few more candles made out, and so yeah.
Okay, no, that's wicked. Well, thanks for bringing it up. So we're looking at wicked, you've done that for me. So we're looking at, it dropped a little bit. Hopefully it's going to go up over next week to 41,200, and then we'll see. That'll be the deciding factor of whether it's going to be bullish or bearish, depending on that level. Interesting. So do you think this is all down to, the Russia and the Ukraine movement at the moment that we're in the news?
Yeah, what you've got is with problem with crypto, obviously it moves when everything else does, but to a more of an extent in that respect. Now, the one piece of good information I've got about the market in this respect is I would have thought it would have reacted more over the last couple of days. I thought it would have had a larger sell-off because of uncertainty, but we haven't, which is quite good because it shows that potentially we might be decoupling from that. Not necessarily in the short term. Over time, we will decouple from the other markets, right? As more liquidity comes in and the fundamentals show. And obviously projects are making more money with their projects and they have this real world value. But right now, because a lot of the projects are, pre-revenue as such, and it's speculation, we can't get away from that. Now, a couple of the other things I'm looking at this moment in time, and this is, going to be part of the economies moving forward. Generally, what you find is from a world currency perspective, you've got the dollar index, which essentially is what we call inversely correlated to an extent to crypto. So if the value of the dollar is going down, then crypto is generally going up because people use it to hedge against the losses that they have from keeping the money in the dollar. But if the dollar value is increasing, then your crypto, generally can decrease in value as well. And that's just a rule of thumb. But the reason why I'm saying that is because if we talk about the macroeconomical circumstances, how can they influence the movement of the dollar, and how can that then funnel down to crypto? And this is it's unexplained right now, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether there's going to be a world war, all this sort of stuff. But all we can do is look at, the technical factors and obviously the fundamental factors that are driven. But obviously when it comes to the technical factors, there's only so much technicals you can do when the fundamentals are coming out when you don't expect them, because they wipe the technicals out of the water, you see? Right,
got you. Okay. Well, there you go. That was a little bit of a market update. I love it. So much to kind of digest there. Now, all right, my favorite point that we always get onto on our weekly update is Coin Watch. Yeah, we need like a little bit of a theme tune, Elliot. Do you want to sing us a song quickly? We're just Coin Watch. We need to get one involved.
Ollie, I think you're the more let's say charismatic out of the two of us, right? So
I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing. So this is a segment we chat about, coins that we think might be doing well over the next few weeks. We had a great chat about it last week, Elliot, when you mentioned Phantom. Have you got anyone, or have you been speaking to anyone? Have you got any rumors in your ear? Any different coins that are looking good over the next weeks, months?
Yeah, one of them I've been looking at. I don't know if I mentioned this last week actually, but I think I might have done. It's called Everdome. Everdome, right? Okay, so this is really interesting. Is this one? So you may have heard of Meta Hero, right?
Yeah, we spoke about that last week. Yeah,
Meta Hero. So essentially getting people into the metaverse as such, right? For virtual reality and augmented reality.
Scanning all their biometrics and putting them in. Yeah.
Putting them in. Yeah. Now that project as a whole did really, really well, right? In terms of its growth, and it will grow a hell of a lot over the future. Now the founders of Meta Hero have essentially now opened another business with something called Everdome, which is essentially the metaverse that Meta Hero, the product, will be hosted within.
Okay.
What that means is they've got a proven team, they've got a proven roadmap, they've got proven founders, and they've also got a proven product as well that's been to market for a little while. So all they're doing is essentially putting this kind of technology as a whole for virtual and augmented reality into the metaverse that they're creating. I think it's on Mars actually.
Okay.
And from there, they're just basically plugging and playing. And we've seen a hell of a lot of growth for Everdome over the last few months, weeks, should I say? If I just get it up on my side in terms of what the growth has actually been.
Yeah, tell us some stats.
So 15 days ago, it was listed on CoinGecko, and in 15 days, we've seen 265% of growth. And to be honest with you, I think over time, that's going to become significant, considering we've only from its all-time high, we're 35% down from the all-time high too. So it may be a consideration, not financial advice or anything, but to start to potentially scale into this project. Other than that, Phantom, again, very strong on that. AVAX, they've rebounded quite significantly well over the last couple of days. Another one I'm also looking at recently, it's took quite a lot of a hit really in the market when it came down, is Luna, Terra Luna.
Yeah, I looked at the market today. That's up again, a couple of double digits in percent wide, nearly, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. So, I mean, I'm looking here at the stats, and I mean, since its all-time low 2 years ago, it's done 48,000%, which is ridiculous. But its all-time high at $100 just here it's still 43% down. And the growth of Luna as a project, is going to be astronomical, I would say, especially in the DeFi sector. Because that's kind of where we're going. So I know a lot of our private high networks that we work with, a lot of their people from inside of financial institutions are talking about, Terra, Luna, and the way in which it can form the DeFi world moving forward.
So if for anyone that is watching now and they're hearing us chat about Terra Luna, how would you sort of break it down in layman's terms what Terra Luna as a crypto is?
Yeah, so I mean, basically what you can do is you can essentially mine it using staking. So what that means is it's a proof of stake protocol, which means that the miners that will mine it are essentially there to stake it to be able to earn more for mining it. And basically, I'm just getting up in front of me actually.
But would you call it a blockchain?
Yeah, so it's a proof of stake blockchain. Yeah. So it's definitely a proof of stake blockchain. But it's essentially there so you can utilize their platform for either staking or decentralized finance as a whole. They've got absolutely loads and loads of different ways in which you can use their platform. But I'd have to get the fundamental researchers on that a little bit more.
No, that's cool because I know that there's so much out there, isn't it? And I know we throw words around. And I always think sometimes audience might be watching going, that's really cool, but what is that? Just like a little bit but it's knowing enough that it's a blockchain. They can do their own research, Elliot. We're doing enough for them. So, okay, what about NFTs? Talk to me about, because I know you get some NFT experts on your team and whatnot. Anything groundbreaking on that level? Any gossip?
No, I mean, we're finding a lot more projects are building on Solana. I think I mentioned this previously.
Yeah.
It's all based around the utility of the project. How can it be used? We've also had some interesting conversations with people within the music scene, the music industry. They're really, it's my development business as well. They're really moving forward within the music industry because there's a problem between, artists, and especially it was stemmed more from COVID, I would say, artists who are owned by the labels and don't really make much ad revenue from the likes of Spotify.
Yes,
so we're having a lot of conversations with people and companies who are basically building out metaverses to allow artists to host shows. Because if you think about artists and how they were originally making their money, which was in the concerts, right?
Yeah.
Now, once that was taken away from them, a lot of them just didn't have any cash flow at all. So a lot of the more interesting projects moving forward within that space are definitely going to be around the metaverse and how we can monetize, having artists on that platform. So that's kind of there. I mean, in terms of actual, projects to look out for, there's nothing that I'm aware of at this moment in time, other than a few of the things that I can't speak about that we'll be bringing to market over the next few months, in terms of the development anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I would say is get involved with the community and all investing in things that have, real world tangible value against them.
I did speak to Andrea, a good mate of ours, and I did a whole episode on, we kind of labeled it NFTs are a scam.
Yeah.
Because Andrea has very strong opinions about it's all hype and it's a massive con because you don't need to use blockchain technology to sell an NFT because companies, you could do it through a database, you could do it through whatever. So what he was saying was he thinks eventually it's all gonna like go down and not exist. But yeah, well, what do you think? What do you think about that?
So there's no doubt, because it's been hyped up, it's got a little bit silly, and that's why I stay away from it. Now, I think I mentioned this previously. The thing that makes NFTs have value is tokenization, right? Now, tokenization is groundbreaking, and I think that will transform industries. The word NFT, people think of a digital image, and it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
There's so much more you can tie to that technology to streamline certain industries, like lawyers, for example, and they're utilizing their contracts and utilizing intelligence within the contract to remove the middle party and also make it fair for both parties. That's a brilliant use case for it. You've also got, the likes of real estate deals, not necessarily real estate in the metaverse, because it's also something that's probably got a little bit silly at this stage. But when I say real estate, I mean the process of buying houses, the process of actually using, lawyers and mandate to be able to have NFTs as the middleman. So for me, I do agree some of it is a scam, and there's always going to be new technologies. But I think personally, the tokenizations element of things will change the way that the world works and remove a lot of jobs in that respect.
Yeah, no, it was a great chat with him because it's interesting, because I think that's how he was more so on the visual side about owning a piece of art, but obviously other people can just screenshot it and so forth. But it's great to hear different opinions, isn't it? If everyone just agreed, it'd be boring. So it's great to hear different.
That's the base layer, is the art. So it's kind of like, people are going to build on that. I mean, yeah, if someone asked me to buy it, I've been gifted NFTs for companies that I work with, but I've never bought a piece of art on OpenSea or whatever. Just because it's not personally my strategy. I know a lot of people done that's all right with it, but I see the value in tokenization, but not in digital art.
Yeah, and I'm sure definitely because of the hype, a lot of people have probably jumped in and gone, wow, I'm not too sure. Yeah. Because it's pretty hard. It's only been around, like it's so new. It's really hard to kind of gauge, isn't it, over time? But the hype's still about.
You got to think about the pegs to the assets that you're purchasing it with as well.
Yeah.
So if you bought an asset for one Ethereum, for example, or an NFT, should we say, and then the price of Ethereum halves, you've got an asset that's worth half the amount of value in that respect, because you've got its retail price or whatever that you've paid for it that will then be worth half. So if Ethereum and Bitcoin decides to dip, you sat on things that really have just decreased in value, and you're going to struggle with. So there's a lot of risks that are behind that are driven by Ethereum as well, and Binance Smart Chain or Solana or Phantom or whatever that may be with NFTs.
Yeah, and then our last one, our fourth topic we normally talk about is metaverse, but we kind of covered it a little bit with MetaHero and is it Everdome?
Everdome, yeah. DOME is the ticker.
DOME, DOME. But I was just wanted to. It's our fourth point, metaverse. Just any other news about that, or any other coins that you may have heard? I think Mana actually got a few percentage increase today, or a few other bits I saw earlier.
I mean, I'm very kind of with my current plays in the kind of metaverse side of things. It's still Mana and Sandbox, other than Dome, which is a little bit of an allocation. Just because of the kind of institutional interest we've had, right now you've got a lot of the NFT and metaverse society, which is just driven by people who've got a big following, and obviously a lot of them that have just a big following and don't have kind of big backers behind them, they'll just fall off. But Mana, Sandbox, they've got a big following and they've got big players behind them as well participating. So for me, that seems like more of a larger bet for the future. In terms of probably growth, I think probably Sandbox may be better than Mana. Just in terms of I'd say shorter term growth anyway, because Mana, brilliant project, but I think it's got a lot to build on, and they've also had astronomical growth as well. So I think that's just going to be something that as things become a little bit more mature, they'll present itself a little bit more to us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when I think of Sandbox, I think of, I mean, Snoop Dogg, massive. I think of Adidas. I think Gucci. Did they buy some recently?
Yeah,
Like huge, big brands. So
yeah, Samsung as well,
I
I
agree
think.
with you on that. Number 5. Any other business? What else has been happening? What other gossip have you got out there?
Gosh, I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing I'd say with regards to the market is, just learn technicals, understand what's going on. I think in terms of gossip news-wise, I've not really got much to comment over on that, what I've covered. But just learn technicals, make sure you understand, you're consistently looking at things like, Bloomberg, Forbes.
Yeah.
And what I'd also say is just take what they say as a pinch of salt, because a lot of that's driven by the amount of money you've got to be able to post out things.
Okay.
But also look into the archives as well. So if you're looking at like the 10th, let's say the 10th result on Google, you're less likely to have massive players being interested in that, so you get more raw information. So that's what I'd say anyway. But
that's interesting. So look at the 10th. Look at the 10th article, right? Because you get a bit more.
Yeah, it's like, for example, if you're researching, I'm not going to say it on here, but anything to do with medical stuff, right? Then you might, if you're hit with the first page of what's going on in the world and what's been going on in the world the last 3 years,
yeah,
you're gonna get what a lot of people want people to think.
I get like a bit baity kind of things. Like, all right, okay.
So say, for example, if you've got like, with all the news that's been going on and people been getting ill over the last few years, every year every month the goalposts have changed. Or do this, do that, and it'll end. Do this, do that, and it'll end. And then all this sort of stuff. Now, throughout that process, I'm not what's the word I'm looking for? When someone's a little bit loopy in their head. Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah, crazy.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, if you're looking at like the 10th page, for example, it's less manipulated. You get more raw information, so you can understand what's actually driving where we're going.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that makes sense. What I'd love to do, Elliot, actually, in the future is, because when I'm sure, like other people like me, is when we look at a graph and you're showing us technical analysis and we're seeing all those like candles that are red and green, kind of like a real basic. We could, I don't know, do like a series, like step 1, how to read a chart. I think that'd be quite cool for an audience to, have someone like you just explain to us how to read a chart, things to look out for, and then all the different sort of tools you use, like the Fibonacci retracement tool and stuff like that. I think that could be really helpful, because I do know that when people come into crypto and they're new, it's just they're hit with so much kind of knowledge and information. It's hard to digest, and someone like you with a lovely Leeds accent can just break it down. I reckon. What do you say? Would you think that would be a good idea?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I mean, I was conscious when I was going over it, like a lot of the things that I'm putting into practice there, it's quite hard for people to, there's quite a lot of information to take, right?
Yeah, so, definitely.
Breaking that down over time will help people. Definitely.
I think we could do that. All right, well, brilliant. You're a busy guy. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate this. I'm going to let you go. I'll do a little outro to camera and see if any of the audience members want to write anything in the comments, and hopefully we can get some questions for you next market update. So thanks very much for your time, Elliot.
Thanks for that, Oliver.
I'll see you next time.
See you then.
So there you go, guys. Oliver and Elliott's market update. Throw us a like. What an amazing episode. I love talking to Elliot because he just breaks it down and he tells us what's happening. He showed us some market, some TA today, some technical analysis. If there's anything you want to know, pop in the questions in the comments below. Just flood it. Put any questions, because I'll ask him anything. All right, and he'll pretty much tell us. We spoke about some of the coin picks that Elliot has been looking at, which are pretty good. So have a little look, rewind back to check out what he said. As always, if you like the episode, throw me a like. Hopefully you've done it by now. Get yourself subscribed to the channel and turn your notification bell icon on, so you never miss any upcoming episodes. And all that's left for me to say is thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.